10:35. We did that. It's gonna come on. They came back up. All right, appreciate everyone being here. We're going to call to order, and at this time, we're going to ask for approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to get those on the floor? I have a second.
Second.
Hope everyone's reviewed them. If so, looking for a motion to approve. We have a motion. We already had a motion in a second, looking for a vote. I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right. Next up is our public comment period. Do we have anyone here wishing to speak to the board? Seeing none, we'll close that. On our agenda, we need to add a quick item. I'm going to turn it over to Michael dealing with the volunteer impact report. We go ahead and do that, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. We have a special presentation that we're going to put into the agenda today. This is the deferral from our February regional council meeting that was canceled as a result of weather. But each year we like to bring to you information about the significant impact that our volunteer program has across Middle Tennessee. And so for that annual report, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Nofi, our manager of volunteer community engagement, who's going to present some information about the value that volunteers provide to our organization and our region. And then we're going to honor a special volunteer with you all.
Thank you for letting me tell you about all the wonderful volunteers in the Middle Tennessee area this morning. I'm very proud to see that we have so many individuals involved each year that want to contribute and make this a place where people want to continue to live, work, and play. We had 2,026 active volunteers in the last year. And they gave a total of 19,053 volunteer hours. That would be an estimated value of $638,085. And by the independent sector, that's the value that they associated with volunteer hours. I think the actual value is probably even higher if you think about some of the volunteer roles that people are playing. And if you had to pay market value for it, it would be higher than that. We're also very excited to have 700 new volunteers engaged in 2024. If you're interested in seeing the full report, it's available at gnrc.org/volunteer, and you also have a handout. For our aging and disability services, we had 25,730 Middle Tennesseans who benefited from a volunteer helping them out, whether it's through sending a letter or the different aging and disability opportunities. I think that's a tremendous number of people being touched by the 2,000 volunteers. One of our programs is the Friendly Visitor Program. Within that program, people visit clients from the guardianship program in a nursing home and just kind of provide a friendly visit to them. We had 14 volunteers who made 288 visits to their 15 clients. And we also gave a total of 523 hours making those visits. We also were really happy to facilitate a angel tree during Christmas time for our clients again this year. And we had 42 guardianship clients who were able to receive gifts through this program. So mostly, items that they needed, some clothing, hygiene items that were provided by the volunteers. Our letter writing campaign continues to go really strong. We started it during the pandemic and have received such positive feedback that people really enjoy getting the letters in the nursing homes, and it encourages them. We had over 19,000 letters written in 2024. 1,837 residents benefited from receiving those letters each month. And we were also able to reach an incredible milestone of 107,000 letters written since the start of the pandemic. So pretty incredible how something small like a letter really does make a difference in people's lives and helps with combating social isolation. Our Medicare counseling program is one that you've probably heard before. It's through the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. Our volunteers are really the crucial part to make this program happen. And volunteers were able to counsel 8,440 clients on Medicare. And those counseling sessions led to 287 drug plan or Medicare Advantage plan enrollments during the annual open enrollment period. And those enrollments saved on average $3,700 on insurance premiums for those clients and annually. So a pretty big number that they can help save people by providing the correct information and helping them learn about plans that can help them save money on their prescription drugs. Volunteers with this program gave a total of 10,000 hours. It's really interesting to see an average counseling session was 44 minutes. And if you break it down by just the volunteers providing those counseling sessions, they counseled 33 clients per business day. So that's a huge number we would not be able to accomplish with our staff alone. Volunteers gave 53 community presentations and attended 77 community events. And we were able to reach 14,000 people through those presentations and events. And our planning and community development volunteers, we had the ABC grants, the Arts-Based Community Grant Program. We had 7 volunteers who reviewed and scored 52 grant applications. They spent a total of 78.5 hours on reviewing those applications and making their recommendations for those grants. And I believe we were able to give out 42 grants. Then on the transportation planning side, we had 1 volunteer who committed 105 hours to assisting with transportation planning work. I'm so grateful for that. And then we also, as you know, do a lot of publications for the different communities. And for the Wilson County and the Rutherford County comprehensive plans, we had 3 volunteers who helped us capture all the images of the county for those publications. They spent a total of 33 hours supporting those programs. So yay for volunteers. Let's give a round of applause for all the volunteers. And now I have the honor of recognizing one very special volunteer, Ray Dawes, with a wonderful award. He nominated him for the President's Volunteer Service Lifetime Achievement Award, long term. The President's Volunteer Service Award is an initiative from AmeriCorps and is administered by Point of Light. It recognizes the vital role of volunteers in enhancing America's strength and national identity. It's a prestigious civic honor bestowed by the President of the United States to individuals who have shown an exceptional commitment to volunteerism, just like Ray did. Ray has made significant impact through his dedicated volunteer service with GNRC's Medicare Counseling Program, also known as State Health Insurance Assistance Program, here in Middle Tennessee. He has been an exemplary volunteer since he first joined the program in 2012. After a break, he joined the program again in 2018, right before I started working here at GNRC. And it has been a real pleasure to work with Ray through my time here at GNRC. He brings so much passion and assistance to others with his Medicare information. Through several staff transitions, Ray has remained the stable source of information that has carried the program through phases of understaffing and challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic. Most months, Ray provides more counseling than our staff, freeing them up to take care of scheduling, reporting, administrative planning duties. Ray is an incredible force of nature you can always rely on to give the best care and information possible to help others live well. Ray seeks training so he can stay up on top of any changes involving Medicare. And if you know Medicare, there's lots of changes all the time. He's very patient in his counseling efforts. And when mentoring new volunteers, he's very good at breaking down the information into language that other people can understand. Since 2012, Ray has contributed an incredible 4,365 hours. to SHIP, which will break down to 582 full working days. Our counseling data only goes back to 2019 when they put in a new tracking system. And so I have the data from that time. Since 2019, Ray has conducted 5,437 counseling sessions. Those sessions led to 256 plan enrollments to better meet the beneficiaries' needs. He saved his clients just since 2019 $445,716 in prescription drug costs. That number would be far higher if it also included the savings for beneficiaries who he helped apply for the various aid programs, which the system does not track those savings, or provided any general guidance to also. One story from May 2024 sums up Ray's dedication perfectly. Ray started assisting a beneficiary whose problems were years in the making and had been sent back and forth while trying to get help. In brief, the information in her Medicare account listed Indiana Medicaid, even though she had moved to Tennessee years ago. No one would take responsibility for fixing the problem. But then Ray stepped in and was patient and reached out to our counterparts in Indiana. It took until November, but the error was finally corrected, with Ray keeping SHIP staff and the beneficiary informed every step of the way. Ray's knowledge and patience and thoroughness are unmatched. Thank you very much. I ask you to come up now. Your support has really meant a lot. You have been really one of the foundations of this program for so many years, and we're so glad to be able to honor you with the President's Volunteer Service Lifetime Award today. This beautiful booklet. It has a letter from the President of the United States in here for you, and then also a certificate. What you have. And then I have a little pin for you that I'd like to put on your. Congratulations, Ray.
Thank you so much. So much.
Michael, anything you want to add? It's a
Yeah,
great
well,
report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know Mayor Moore, Ray is one of your constituents, and you'll plan to get photographs with him afterwards, but I just wanted to acknowledge the tremendous honor for Ray this morning. Also want to show my appreciation for Rebecca and what she's done with the volunteer program. Also, shout out to Christine Mather and Jordan Conway and Rachel Salava, who work with Ray in the Medicare counseling program. When you see these reports on the volunteer impact, I don't want you to normalize this. This is unique. This is extraordinary, the work that we do with volunteers to get them plugged into the program to extend the impact that our federal and state dollars and your local dues are, the impact that those are making across the region. So I just wanted to, if we could, I know she's distracted right now, but show Rebecca our appreciation through another round of applause. Appreciate
Could you
that.
send out her presentation? I thought that was, I mean, I know the one sheet covers a lot of it, but there was a little more detail in there I'd love to share with our team.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for entertaining that.
Thank you. We have one action item on today's agenda, and it's TPB 2025-06. We need to have a public hearing on that item. Is there anyone wishing to speak on that? Yep. All right, we'll get it on the floor. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a presentation on this, so we'll turn it over to Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that's a tough act to follow. I'll give it a shot here. So we have 9 amendments today to the short range plans to TIP. This adding about 106 million federal dollars and a little over nearly $13 million of state funds to several projects. We'll start with the first project we have on our list is Electrify Nashville. This is adding a little over $1.7 million of previously awarded funds that were not included in the Transportation Improvement Plan to fiscal year 26 implementation. Gives Nashville more flexibility. They do have the availability to obligate all these funds in the current TIP cycle. Next is the North Thompson Lane State Route 268 widening for TDOT. This was in our previous TIP cycles. It hasn't been on thing that it wasn't this TIP or the last TIP. So 2020 to 2023 or 23-26. It's being added back to the project to the TIP for expected October letting. This is adding a little over $100 million of federal funds. The project, this is in Murfreesboro in Murphy County. Next, we have Cherry Lane Extension with I-40 interchange. This is proposing to add the remainder of Murfreesboro's MFCG balance, a little over almost $1.25 million of federal funds to fiscal year 25 design right-of-way construction. That's to cover some cost overruns in design and right-of-way, but also for expected construction costs as well in construction. Next, we're adding the east-west corridor. This is the Hatton Track or Albert Galvin Avenue extension in Gallatin back to the TIP to the tune of roughly $430,000 of federal USBG funds to cover construction cost overruns. The next, actually, one of these, next one we have is Williamson County Team A Group. This is increasing the 2025 implementation line by $330,000 in federal 5307 funds. They're basically moving all their funds from fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 25. What I was trying to say, so the next four projects are all for WeGo, RTA, and MTA. These are to incorporate the Improve Act Transit Investment Program funding that they're awarded. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Donaldson Station Transit Center. This is adding $4 million of fiscal year 25 FTA 5337 funds from another TIP project, which is the actually modification. So those together, but the other one didn't raise to level of amendment. Additionally, $5 million through the recent Improve Act grant will be added to the project as well, for a total change of nearly $9 million to the project. Next, we have the MTA building rehabilitation. This is the MIAP building for National MTA. This is adding $1.6 million of state funds from the Improve Act Transit Improvement Grant Program for fiscal year 25 implementation. We have a new project, Dickerson Transit Center. This is adding $5 million state funds for fiscal years 25 and 26 implementation. This is in partnership with Holiday Ventures to construct a new transit center inclusive of 6 bus bays, passenger shelter area, break rooms for drivers, shared parking garage, and other features that WeGo and MTA require for such developments. This is going to be on a really important corridor, so we're happy to see that. WeGo Central Renovation is our last amendment for today. This is adding $1.2 million funds from the fiscal year 25 Improve Act grant investment program, and just shy of $1.5 million of previously uncommitted federal 5339 funds to fiscal year 25 implementation for just shy of $2.8 million total change for the project. That is all of the.
Thank you, Chair. Any questions for Taylor on these projects? Right, seeing none, we're going to take a vote on resolution TBB 2025-06, a resolution amending the Transportation Improvement Program for federal fiscal years 2023 through 2026. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. All right, thank you for that. Next up is informational items dealing with regional transportation plan activities. Turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, this is an informational item, but it is a really important informational item that I hope will set the framework for your participation and the major update to the regional transportation plan that we kicked off formally last year, but we've been working on this since we adopted the last plan back in 2021. A lot of the slides I've included in the PowerPoint today, just for your reference, I could probably go through all this. This is a lot of its background, but I do want to hit on kind of why we're doing what we're trying to achieve and what you can expect from us over the next several months as we march towards the adoption of this major update to the regional transportation plan scheduled for March of 2026. Just as a reminder, we do this for a couple of reasons. The one that maybe matters the most, it's a federal requirement. NPO must have a regional transportation plan in place that looks ahead 20 plus years into the future. That includes a balanced budget of fiscally constrained projects. These are projects that are tied to revenue that we anticipate receiving from federal, state, local sources of funds over the next throughout the horizon of the plan. In our case, it's a 25-year plan. Our plan also must demonstrate how we intend to help the federal government and the state government implement their transportation initiatives across our region. So it is a federal requirement. It keeps you all eligible for the grants out of the USDOT, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration that flows through TDOT. It's also important because it helps to prioritize the new starts that TDOT pursues with state funding and the federal funding, the funds that they have access to. Often when they're looking to develop the 10-year plan or 3-year work program, they look to the NPOs and RPOs across the state to identify those new start projects for the pipeline. And we source those projects from the work that we do with you all to develop this transportation plan. A quick reminder of where you can find this online. The current plan adopted in 2021 is online. It's a $10.5 billion fiscally constrained plan. Just a reminder, there's a technical report that goes along with that document that satisfies all the federal requirements for transportation planning. There's also an interactive map and a glossier executive summary of the plan. It looks like this. It's downloadable off the website as well. This is probably
Thank you.
live. It's a very vibrant plan. Also, we have on the website an interactive map of the projects and a corresponding database of everything that's programmed out through the year 2045 currently. On that map, you'll find any project identified with the color red is part of our fiscally constrained plan in either a short, mid, or long-term horizon in terms of scheduling. And then we also identify a lot of transportation needs that remain unfunded even over the next 25 years based on our current assumptions for revenue, which leads me to one of the major objectives that we have with this plan update that we're working with you on now is we will certainly meet the federal requirement to allocate anticipated funds to projects that the state or locals or transit will be implementing over the next 25 years with available revenue. But maybe more importantly, where we are in terms of our challenges with respect to transportation is that we want to place a heavy emphasis this time around on those projects that we cannot afford, just to make sure people understand what we're not going to be able to achieve in terms of addressing transportation challenges unless we address issues around revenue, issues around how we plan and develop our communities. And so a lot of emphasis with this plan update, not only on the fiscally constrained project list, but really talking to the Tennessee General Assembly, Congress, constituency about the importance of paying for the improvements that folks have been asking for the last couple of decades. I should mention the 25-year plan of fiscally constrained projects. A lot of those projects are projects that have been on the books for the last 20, 30 years. They're not really, we're not really getting into the more futuristic projects that are preparing our region for the 3+ million people that we expect to live here by the year well before the year 2050, but certainly the 2050 horizon that we're planning towards. You've seen a version of this before. It's an overall timeline. I think I want to highlight here the call for projects that recently closed last week. I think Friday was the last day to submit applications for federal funding for your local projects. There is some grace that we're giving folks. So if you haven't yet fully submitted all of the projects that you intend to submit, please reach out and let us know that. And if there are projects that you have in mind but lack sufficient detail to feel confident about your application at this stage, just go ahead and submit it. Submit what you know and work with us on building out that concept as we work towards developing the plan. So I want to highlight the January through March call for projects, which is recently closed, and also let you know that I'll end my presentation this morning talking about what we're going to be doing between April and August to go out into the counties to convene the local governments, the municipal governments, the county government, any transit agencies, and the Tennessee Department of Transportation at county level workshops to talk through what you're trying to accomplish together to improve transportation. There'll be 3 rounds of workshops that we'll get through over the next several months. In the end, though, we are looking to get the state draft of our fiscally constrained transportation plan by November so they can review, provide comments to us. They're looking for compliance with federal regs, but also just making sure that we're fully acknowledging the things that the state intends to invest in across our region. And then we'll release, we plan to release the draft for public review and comment in January and bring it back to the board in March for adoption. I'm going to dwell a little bit on this slide. Again, you'll get the copy of these slides in the usual place in the recap email that we send out. But this is a look ahead. This is starting with January 2025. So last time we met, this body issued the call for projects that kicked off the application process itself. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the more significant topics of discussion that we're going to be engaged with you on throughout the next several months. So in March, we're giving an overview of the process, but very quickly in April, at the April 2nd coordinating committee meeting, the Transportation Coordinating Committee that your staff attends, we'll present the candidate project list. So this is the universe of projects that have been identified by local governments, transit agencies, and TDOT with the intent to get these done over the horizon of the plan. So we'll be looking at that project list at the TCC meeting in April. We'll be going into the counties to talk a little bit more about them, but that'll be the focus, is really making sure we haven't missed anything in terms of the aspiration of any of the partners around the table. Because once we kind of finalize that candidate list, it goes static there as we go through the project evaluation and prioritization process leading to the draft plan itself. So it's really important moment to be paying attention to make sure that your interests are represented in what we begin to share in April. In May, we will have conversations with the coordinating committee in this board about our policy framework. This is where we essentially finalize the goals and objectives that we're trying to achieve through the NPO program. I'll talk a little bit about those here in a minute. Those goals and objectives that we're seeking to achieve really are the basis for how we evaluate projects for funding. We have it's a merit-based process that identifies how well each individual project will help achieve those objectives that we set out for ourselves. We'll also have for you in May our presentation of financial assumptions for the plan. So this will include our revenue forecast out to 2050, and we forecast revenue by grant program and by source of revenue. So federal, state, local funds will be forecast, and then money that's coming from grants will be forecast by grant program. This is really important because as we're looking to identify projects for funding, as you know, individual grants come with certain eligibility requirements. And part of the game that we play at this word game is to kind of match up the color of the money with eligibilities on the project. And it's like putting together a puzzle as we go through this process. Included in the financial assumptions is more than the revenue forecast. We'll also be sharing with you our assumptions for how to account for inflation over the life of the plan. We've shared the methodology that we used last time, get your feedback on that, and get that tidied up before we move forward. When we prepare the plan, we need to present project costs in 2 ways. One is base year costs. What would the project cost if we were to implement it today? But we also need to project forward into the timeline that we think the project is going to be implemented and come up with a year of expenditure cost. And it's that year of expenditure cost that we use in the balancing of the budget. So we'll be talking with you about how we'll account for inflation and how we've coordinated with the department on those assumptions. June and July is when our staff and our consultant team are really getting into the weeds on identifying the transportation needs that are out there on the corridor level and within communities, so traffic congestion, roadway safety issues, the other things that we're trying to accomplish with our federal transportation program. We'll be assessing the existing conditions and our forecast for identifying the most important pockets of the region that are going to be experiencing transportation challenges. August, we will bring to you our base year cost estimates for all the projects that have been submitted to us. Many of you are submitting projects to us with, you are all submitting projects to us with cost estimates. In some cases, these are just rough planning estimates. It's your best guess at what something might cost today. And some of you have recently finished engineering and about to go into either right-of-way acquisition or construction and have a really a more fine-tuned grasp of what the costs will be. So what we're going to be doing is, regardless of the cost estimations that you're giving us, we've hired a consultant team to go in and do independent cost estimation of all these projects, relying a lot on the cost estimation models that TDOT has developed over the years. So there'll be a lot of coordination there. So we'll produce an independent estimate of those costs, and then ultimately we'll share those costs with you in August. In September, this is a month, this would be a Transportation Policy Board meeting month where we're going to be asking you to essentially endorse the ranked list of funding priorities. So April's when we show you the universe of projects that are going to be competing for limited revenue over the next 25 years. And September is when we're sharing with you the list rank ordered that allows us to figure out how far the funds would go to paying for our identified needs. So that'll be a really important meeting, and one of the major points of input that we need from you in order to finalize that first draft of the plan that we get to TDOT in November. And then while the state and our federal partners are reviewing the plan, we'll continue discussions with you all late this 2025 calendar year on what to do about those projects that we can't afford with our projected revenue. How do we want to elevate the case making and the visualizations around those project needs so that we're telling a compelling story as to why we need more resources? So we'll be strategizing with you about that, as well as project delivery, the project delivery issues that the project delivery task force of this body studied so in depth about 18 months ago. And so strategies to speed up project delivery, which is obviously accelerating the benefit of these investments, but also helping us save money over time. So those would be ongoing conversations we have with you while we're getting the state and feds to review our fiscally constrained plan. That would lead to some additional guidance that we put into the final version that gets released for public review and comment January for adoption in March. I know I went through that fairly quickly, but I wanted to make sure at least you had some exposure to where we're headed over the coming year. And each time we meet with you, we'll remind you where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going next. And of course, your staff is working with us on a continuous basis through the Transportation Coordinating Committee that Josh Sudeth heads up. And so just want to make sure that you see us as accessible, either through your TCC member or just directly reaching out to our staff any day of the week, not just at these Transportation Policy Board meetings. Any questions about the overall timeline or where we're headed?
Michael, for some of our newer members, just kind of what type of projects are you looking for? They may not be familiar with that. Hey, what can I actually submit? If you want to share the different types for different size communities and those things.
Yeah, I mean, it just runs the gamut. Anything that you have in mind to improve traveling conditions for your public, your business community, freight as it moves through your community. So the projects are, sidewalk projects, standalone sidewalk projects, or a citywide sidewalk program, bicycle lanes, ITS infrastructure, traffic signals at intersections, road widenings, road upgrades to implement, curb and gutter, streetscaping. It's all fair game. Transit service, transit vehicles, all fair game. Greenways that provide a transportation solution for your local community are fair game. And then the next slide, I think, let me jump ahead to the goals and objectives here, because anything that you have in mind that will either maintain or preserve the condition of the transportation infrastructure, anything that you have in mind to improve safety for all users, or to help mitigate congestion, or to increase access to economic opportunity within your community or to the rest of the region. All those are really key and important goals that we are trying to accomplish through the projects that you're ideating at the local level. As we move towards evaluating projects, we're assessing how well they achieve these goals, but we're also looking to see how well your project scope maybe the location of your project and your approach to delivering that project will minimize the disruptive impacts that it might have on our natural resources, the environmental quality of our region, and the communities that we're trying to serve with a benefit. Obviously, we want to bring benefit with these investments, but we also need to acknowledge that in delivering some of these projects, it could be quite disruptive for the communities that already exist around those locations. So minimizing these disruptions is one of our goals as well. And then ultimately making sure we're aligned with our vision. Our vision's aligned with what TDOT and USDOT is trying to accomplish as well through their decision-making process. Hopefully that answered that question about the type of
Yeah,
project.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Roads, bridges, all that good stuff. So a few more slides just to wrap up here. So I wanted to just touch on how we go about ranking projects and how we represent our priorities, which I know it's probably the part of the process that gives folks the most anxiety, because you don't want to show up as like the last ranked project on a list. We do score projects numerically for their ability to achieve these goals. We weight these goals. When we get into discussions of the policy framework with you, we'll reevaluate the weights that we give to each of these goals. Roadway safety for the last couple of plan update cycles has been the most important goal, the goal with the highest weight when it comes to project evaluation. So if you've got two projects that all things are otherwise equal, the one that's improving roadway safety better is likely to be the higher rated project. That's essentially what I'm saying there. There's a lot of data that goes into our assessment of how well your projects are achieving the goals. And the next few slides here, I'm not going to go into the weeds here. It's kind of setting up some of the information that we'll share with you at the first county workshop coming up in April. But you can see here some of the elements that go into our approach to scoring projects. The information that we use to score projects comes from what you're giving us. So any supporting documentation that you give us in terms of prior planning work that has made the case for your project. Also just the nature of your project, where your project is located, the communities that project is serving, the jobs that project is serving are all part of the process. We're also evaluating the conditions of the system, traffic volumes, volume to capacity, travel speeds, the context of that project. And then we're also doing a qualitative assessment of that our staff will do to determine how well your project, if implemented, would achieve the goals. And through the qualitative assessment, we'll give you feedback on suggestions that can help you minimize disruption on the environment or surrounding communities, or suggestions for your consideration to optimize the scope of work to score higher on the list, right? So that's sort of the three-part process for pulling together information to do the evaluation and prioritization. But when it comes down to it, even though we're going to have a numeric score for each project, we typically don't really dwell on the actual score. We prioritize projects and rank them in 5 tiers. We have what we call 5-star projects, and this is an example of a project list with the with ratings. So you see the number of stars there, kind of near the middle of that screen, those blue stars. These are all 5-star projects on this list. And then we'll show a general indication of how well you're achieving each of the goals that we've set out for ourselves with a sort of a simplified pictorial representation of that. But in the end, we're looking to identify projects in one of 5 buckets of priorities. The first bucket is our 5-star projects. These are consensus regional priorities. These are typically the projects that we've identified to improve our interstate corridors. The downtown interstate loop was top priority last time around. But these are basically the projects we can all get behind as being the most significant things that we can do together to address transportation in Middle Tennessee. Then what we have next are the 4-star projects. So if we made prior commitments or prior investments into a project, even in preliminary engineering, we want to honor that obligation and prioritize that project over a new star project. It goes to what you hear Commissioner Ely talk a lot about, even Jay. So we want to finish what we started, right? Regardless of where your project scores, might score very low, but it's going to be a 4-star project because we've already made that commitment. Unless there's a fatal flaw or a lack of community support for that project, it's going to be at the top of the list. And then we get into identifying priorities for our new start projects. And this is where the numerical score plays a bigger role. And then we'll rank order those new starts projects that haven't started yet, but they're ideas that you want to pursue in the future. We'll rank order those by score. And then obviously, if you're a 3-star project, as there's money available beyond fulfilling the obligations of our current projects, you essentially be first in line for that money. It is tricky, though, going back to what I was saying earlier about the puzzle that we have to pull together. Sometimes we'll fund a project that ranks lower than another just because the eligibility is associated with specific grant programs, right? So that's how the project scoring works. It's not, I wouldn't get hung up on the score for your project once we get to that point. It's more of how we're positioning it in that five category system. This is just a reminder of our 5-star projects in the current plan. The upgrades and modernization of the downtown interstate loop, East Corridor commuter rail upgrades, and then our regional corridors with an objective to do managed lanes and provide more opportunities for transit to operate in dedicated lanes, or in the case of I-24 within the choice lanes. So those were kind of what we considered the 5-star projects last time around. I'll end here, Mr. Chair, with just a look ahead to those county level workshops that I mentioned. First round, April, we'll be reaching out to your staff soon to find a time that your team and the team of your neighboring jurisdictions within your county can get together and basically talk with us about what you submitted, what you're trying to accomplish. Just make sure we're understanding what you gave us. Also a good opportunity for you to connect with TDOT on what they're proposing to do within your community. Sometimes it's the case that TDOT and a local will submit the same project. So it's an opportunity for us to reconcile who would take the lead on that particular project and who would be responsible for ensuring that it gets into the plan. So that's round one. Round two is an opportunity for you to see the initial results of our evaluation. Make sure we didn't misscore a project based on our lack of understanding or an error with the data. So it's sort of a preliminary scoring with an opportunity for you to respond or to tweak your project. So you might have a project that's really important to you that isn't scoring as well as you'd like. We can talk about what the things that you could be doing to position it more competitively for the limited funding that we have. And then round three is a localized conversation about what would be presented to the Transportation Policy Board in September, where we'll be asking for this body to endorse that priority list that would become the basis for the fiscally constrained plan that we provide to TDOT for review in November. We'll work through your TCC members. We'll copy you all on that communication, and completely optional for you to be there. But if you have a lot of interest in being involved in those detailed conversations, we welcome your participation. Any questions about any of that? If you haven't got all your projects into the system yet, just reach out to us and we'll give you the assistance that you need to get that wrapped up.
All right, thank you, Michael. We'll go off into our regular reports. I don't think anyone from Federal Highways here today. Next, we'll go off TDOT. I think Matt may be kicking us off.
Sure, I'll start and I'll hand it off to Jay here in a second. I have 4 items. One is really what Federal Highway probably would have provided as an update, and that had to do with an announcement that we received on March 10th of a redistribution of unused TIFIA funds. For those that are not aware of what TIFIA is, it's a Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act. $1.8 billion was going to be redistributed to the states. Of that amount, Tennessee's would receive about $38 million of that $1.8 billion. It's broken into 2 funding categories: the Surface Transportation Block Grant, STBG, and also the Transportation Alternatives. By law, it is being suballocated into the population group. So for this area, for the larger MPOs, of which we have 5 of now with Clarksville's addition, about $8.5 million would have to be allocated between the 5 areas. So that's roughly, based on population, maybe $1.7 to $2 million of additional STBG funds that the Nashville MPO would get. For transportation and alternatives, that's roughly maybe $330,000 to $500,000 of additional alternative funds. These funds are good until September 30th of 28. So TDOT is working on developing the formulas for the other urbans within the area. So stay tuned for that, but it will be, it's not going to be a windfall by any means. So we'll get with you individually on that when programming is done, figuring out that formula. So that's that one update. TIP activities. So as you all know, we are in the process of updating our new TIP cycle for 26, 29. I will be providing a letter to the MPOs. It's a memo that provides guidance on how we would like to see TIPs developed within the regions. They're not really expectations anymore. I'm trying to change that to guidance because we know that, you have the ability to do what you want, but we just want to make sure that we are all within the federal guidelines. So it'll be accompanied by a federal FHWA memo that basically reaffirms all the federal guidance that needs to be adhered to. So stay tuned for that. Another item is hold on, I had written it down. I had the fourth one I wanted to save to the end, but 10-year plan update. So I announced this at the MPO call on Friday, but we are expecting to have the 10-year plan update released the first week in April, which would include additional SPP projects that have been awarded. So stay tuned for that. Again, the first week in April will be coming out. The last thing I wanted to mention was the items contained in the governor's budget that is currently being developed under the current legislative Congress. We have provided a video. There's about a 4-minute video that helps describe some of the items contained in the budget that have a TDOT connection to it. So again, 4 minutes, if you don't mind, if it's okay to watch it, and then I'll be done with my report. I think we're set up here. think I've seen that video, I don't know, 30 times now. We've been traveling the state, and at every MPO meeting, we've presented this to get support from the MPOs and to hear some input about, what this will do to the state with that additional influx of money and how that can help accelerate projects in the 10-year plan, plus some of the other innovative opportunities to help fund. So that is it from me. Jake, I know you have some project updates.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I do not have a video. Everybody knows you get me. I'd like to add on to the local option thing is we're very interested in trying to get you all tools to help with your success and move projects forward. And this legislation would be exactly what Mayor O'Connell and the city of Nashville have done with the Choose How You Move campaign. They had, by law, had a statute where they could access that and took advantage of it. This would open it up for all cities and counties, to make sure that Robertson County and Springfield, for example, has that same kind of access to those tools to have a successful program. So we're trying to figure out creative ways to help grow everything in this area. So appreciate your support with that. I'll be brief. Real quickly, we had a tremendous amount of severe weather this past weekend. We only had 2 failures in our system. We had a slope failure in Humphreys County, State Route 13. Our other failure was in Smith County on State Route 141. It runs parallel with the Caney Fork River. We had a retaining wall made of power poles that was installed in the early 80s that failed. So we're working on an emergency contract to put that to work. But that's a good example of the kind of infrastructure investments we're needing to make. It's a good project for us to keep an eye on. It's pothole season. I think everybody's aware of that. So our crews have been out patching. We've been running our paver for about 3 weeks now. Asphalt plants are open, and we're taking care of a lot of places on the interstate first, and we'll be focusing on state routes after that. If you've got any requests, just let me know. I'll be glad to take those. Donaldson Pike interchange by the airport is coming along very nicely. If you've been over there, the project is roughly almost a year ahead of schedule. We're thinking this thing's going to be done with the majority work in the first week of July. We're hoping that's the case. They poured Bridge 1 yesterday, and they'll be working after the screed is now moving to the bridges over I-40. So lots of grading work there. Will tie in nicely with B&A's Terry project. We're excited about that one. We awarded I-65 widening from Rivergate Parkway to Long Hollow a couple weeks ago. The pre-construction meeting will be in a few weeks. That's a $130 million project to widen the interstate. It'll be kicking off, and it will be painful for a season, but it'll be good for our community. Other projects of significant note in development is Highway 109, the bypass in Portland. That we're currently procuring right away with the environmental permit. Went on public notice last week. We're very happy about that. That'll be a $130 million project. And then down in Murfreesboro, the widening of State Route 268 Thompson Lane. We're gunning to have that one done in the fourth quarter of this year and get it on the street as well. That's another $130 million project. So we're looking. I also want to mention I-65 on the north side of the loop, the replacement of the Cumberland River Bridge. That is a progressive design build. Kiewit is a contractor that has been brought on to work on that project for us. So survey has begun on it. That's going to be a really good project. So if you add all these together, we're looking, if you look at our program projects, we spend about $111 million a year on resurfacing. We're looking to between a $600 and $800 million investment in Region 3 this year. So when you have a $1.2 billion construction budget statewide, we're proud of that. And John Story in the back of the room, would you raise your hand? He's our director of project management. Him and his team have done a tremendous job getting these projects out the door and on the street. And we're excited. This is a very good year for us. That's it for me. Thanks for the opportunity to speak, Chairman.
Any questions on that report? All right, we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Josh at TCC for his report.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be real brief. As Michael mentioned, we had the call for projects deadline last week. And so like a lot of y'all staff members, my office was working diligently to try to get projects submitted, and ran into a couple of things that I thought were system errors that turned out to be user errors on my end. And so I appreciate Michael and his staff giving me a hand a couple of times on some things. I know they did for a lot of other jurisdictions that were working. I'm not sure that Jim left any money on the table for any of the rest of Middle Tennessee, but we definitely got a lot of stuff turned in, and I know there's a lot of needs out there. Also, I want to thank Michael too at the last TCC meeting back on the 5th. Michael, some of the stuff that y'all saw today at a super duper high level, Michael came and spoke to us and provided a lot more granular detail on how the project selection process and prioritization process, how that works on the GNRC's end or on the MPO's end. So we appreciate you, Michael, doing that. And we had a good meeting overall. We're looking forward now to the county meetings that Michael was talking about. I think that process is, I really appreciate how methodical the process that you're laying out is on getting these projects evaluated. Jim and I were talking, the consultant that you're using to help build the cost estimates and that kind of thing on the front end. That's a great move. And so we appreciate that too. But that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Josh. Just under Chair's report, first of all, let me say thank you to TDOT and everyone using Reagan Smith for the weekly local programs, calls that we have every week. They've been very informative. So do a different topic each week, and that's going to be taking a shift. Got a couple more of those left maybe, and then taking a shift going off into the grant management system for that. And so that just leads me into something I want to share. We've talked about it a couple of times. If you or your designee is interested, we want to reconstitute basically the task force to do a couple of things. One, to think about the obligated funds. We kind of hit on this before, and we did before. Hey, somewhere this board's going to have to maybe be the bad guy and say, listen, your project, you don't have money, you're not doing it, it's not making it happen, and we're going to have to figure out about reprogramming. And so we need them to take a look at that, and also to be talking about local programs as TDOT's revamping this and how it operates. So I've asked Jim if he would chair that. If you would go ahead and send in, we don't need 20 on this thing, but if we had, 6 to 8 or so people who are in the weeds and who want to see this done, love to see a rep from TDOT be involved in those meetings as well, and GNRC, and be able to have some thoughts on that. So if you'll go ahead and send your emails in, say, hey, listen, I would like myself or my designee to be involved in that, send them over to Michael. We'll get those names together and see if we get a group going, because we need to make sure that this program money is going in the right places at the right time. I'm sure that what Matt just announced today, by the time Jamie Clary gets a hold of him, that money will be pre-programmed toward Hendersonville here in about 10 minutes. So we've lost out on that. You already talked, I'm sure.
He was giving his proposal. I know we're talking.
So if you're interested, it may not be you. It could be your city engineer. It could be your grant accountant, whoever's involved in the weeds of that. We want you to be involved. Send your email over to Mike. Say, I want to be a part of that task force, because it's going to be some important work. And, we're not trying to kill anybody's project, but we are trying to be realistic. Hey, if the time's not now, we just need to be aware of that and make sure the money's on the table for that. So if you would do that, I really appreciate that. That's all I have. And Michael, for anything left on the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have a few additional items to share with you. I've got, I'm aware of the time, trying to get you out here soon. Taylor, you want to make reference to the most recent tip status report in the packet and give us an overall assessment of where we are in terms of project obligations?
Yes, be happy to. So kind of in trimmed the last couple of months, we're just 1% under obligations to where the tip period is 29 to 48 months. It's about 60%. So we're at 59% obligation rate for FHWA dollars. So we're on track. We'd love to be ahead of that. So I think that we've also had some more federal dollars to the tip the last couple of months. So it's one of those things of, yeah, you want to get the more money, but it's also kind of making sure we're keeping up the obligations. One thing I'll say is, I know everyone keeps these and files them away after every meeting, but if you look at figure 3 and 4 in here, the amount of changes, we say the TIP's a living document. You can really see the changes and where the funds are being either through state dollars or even our MPO dollars, how we shift them between fiscal years and these. So you kind of see kind of how the living side of that. For example, I think we added somewhere like $15 million of state USTBG and then modification recently to fiscal year 25. So that jumped up. So just things like that kind of see. And also I want to thank Smyrna. They obligated $3.5 million federal dollars for their intersectional Old Nashville Highway project, CRP and CMAX. So that was a big project, a long time in the making. So we're happy to see that move forward. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Taylor. Just a reminder, I know it always seems like we're updating a plan. We got the RTP, we got the TIP, those are being updated together, but we also have the 2-year planning work program that really is what guides the studies and research and the data collection that we're doing across the region. We did have a survey posted. It's still online. Ask for your input by the end of February, thereabouts. If you haven't responded to that survey, please do so. We're looking for 3 things from you. One is your input on what issues we should be addressing in our work together. Affordable housing, traffic congestion, and roadway safety to economic development. This is a good opportunity for you to shape what we focus on the next 2 years with our planning dollars. Maybe more importantly than that, though, is we're looking to gather information from you about what plans you're working on locally, so we can make sure that we are supportive and not duplicative, and that the work that you're doing is incorporated to our regional approach to things. And then the last thing we're looking for is any suggestion you have for how to spend our shared regional planning dollars on studies. The idea of a regional greenway master plan has been recommended already. The idea of continuing to look at regional freight movements and the things that we could be doing to support the transportation logistics industry within our region is another suggestion. So just a reminder to either you or your staff to go to gnrc.org/survey/UPWP. A reminder email went out to your staff this morning, and Matthew Cushing on our staff is going to be following up with you. Also, many of you began asking for the dues estimates for your local budgeting process. This is available online at gnrc.org/budget. The dues were also included in the February meeting packet for the meeting that was canceled, but this is online now. We are recommending a 1-cent increase in the GNRC base dues. This is the money we collect to match the state and federal grant programs to support economic development, aging disability services, and the non-NPO work at GNRC. That requires a match for us to do our job. And then the NPO program dues haven't been increased on a rate basis for several years now, but and additional funds that we're getting from Federal Highway and FTA through TDOT are increasing. And our policy requires us to make sure that the dues are keeping up with the increase in federal funds. So we make sure we draw all that down. So a 2-cent increase on the rate for NPO program dues. You can find your community share of the total regional dues collection on our website at gnrc.org/budget. But you could also just reach out to staff for that information.
Yeah, we're just going to send that in an email out to everyone, so we'll have it. A lot of you are already in budget workshops in your community, so.
We'll go ahead and put that in that recap email,
Yeah,
so you have it
be
easily
perfect.
accessible. Upcoming meetings, and I'm going to get us 3 upcoming meetings and turn it over to Daniel for final thoughts here. But we've got a regional council body meeting at the downtown Nashville Library, April 16th. Many of you are voting members of that board as well. We're going to be asking the body to approve our area plan for aging disability services. We have Jody Sliger with Tennessee ECD to be who will be on hand to talk about the Tennessee 3-Star program and the additional funds that are available for economic and community development through that. And then we'll have information about the revolving loan fund program that GNRC administers to help small businesses create, retain jobs within your communities. That was a request of Mayor O'Connell a few months ago. So that's a look ahead at the regional council body meeting. And then this body convenes again on May 21st here in this room. That your packet says the library. It's always a good bet to check the calendar, pay attention to the emails, because we're constantly playing musical chairs with our meeting locations, right, Steve? But May back in this room, TIP amendments, and then we'll just give you the latest on where we are with the RTP, including focusing in on the candidate project lists and the policy framework that we just referred to. So with that, go ahead and close staff's report by turning it over to Daniel McDonald, who was introduced at your last meeting as our new Director of Transportation and Infrastructure at GNRC, and he's gonna just give you an overview of all the key staff members that are involved in the NPO process at GNRC, so you know where to go and you know who is supporting you in your endeavors. Daniel?
Yeah, so very quickly, just to wrap it up here, one of the most exciting things we've been able to do since I came on board in December is kind of expand our team, expand our capacity to help offer you more services. So going over quickly, who we've had on board, so you know who to contact, or who we might put you in touch with for the expertise, but also want to introduce two new hires since our last meeting. So first of all, we have Matthew Cushing, who's our transportation planning manager back here. And he's had a lot of experience in the transportation world, NDOT, Vanderbilt, TDOT, multimodal, and actually started his career at the North Carolina Capital MPO. And then Will Rogers, also new here, coming to us from multimodal and TDOT, and he's our safety planning coordinator. He had a lot of expertise doing safety projects and also making sure that a lot of projects that were going through the process there had very beneficial results for safety. He's also working very closely with the tech and data side of things. So the rest of the transportation team, hopefully you already know. Obviously Taylor, be in touch with him for anything about project delivery, project acceleration. Tom Fox is our public transportation coordinator, and Andrew McIntyre, who's been doing a great job working on our public inventory needs assessment that we do every year with TASSER, as well as doing a lot of special projects and kind of our crossover into community planning as well. So that's our transportation team. But of course, we have a lot of support across GNRC from our other teams that work with the NPO. I'm sure you all are familiar with Max Baker and his research and analytics team, Jessica Hill with community and regional planning, Amy Napoli as our economic and community development director, Peter Westerholm, external affairs and partnerships, and Emery Hartz, who is doing a lot of outreach and engagement efforts for us. So these are all great contacts. You're always welcome to contact just me or Michael, find out who the best person to talk to is. We will help you as well, or reach out directly. We're here to help, so please get in touch.
Thank you, Daniel. Any other business before we adjourn? Need to be brought to our attention. Well, it sounds like we're needing a motion, a second, and everybody say aye, and we're out of here.
Got it.
Please leave your name tags on the table.
Guys, appreciate you.
Good to see you.